I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 12 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on September 15th, 2025. And we're going to just hop right into it. We're going to talk about the Brewery Omegang, whatever, Nitro 3 Philosophers Quadruple Ale. It is a blend of Quadruple Ale and Creek Ale from cherries, 9.7% ABV. Rich and complex, this tour de force is a blend of Quadruple Ale and authentic Belgian Kriek. I don't know. I've never heard of that type of thing. I'm going to have to now research it. With its malty and gentle sweetness, enjoy the mesmerizing pour with its smooth cascade of bubbles that lends to a lustrous creaminess to enhance the touch of cherry. The perfect beer for leisurely sipping, and quiet contemplation. I am not drunk, but evidently I can't speak.
It's a lot of reading.
It is. But what do you think, man?
They really nailed the description on that one really well. I mean, very, very smooth. Little sweet, little like creamy fattiness to it. Not too much. It's a great sipping beer.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have a whole glass of that, and like it almost drinks like soda. You know, in the sense that like maybe not quite that carbonated, but it's just got a little hint of sweetness, goes straight down, like almost. Okay, this is maybe getting a little bit out there. Imagine like a dark cream soda.
Yeah.
You know, like not to the point of caramel, but like if you could brown cream the same way you brown butter, kind of like that.
I can see that. Yeah, the two styles blended together is very interesting. So the quadruple, the quad ale, like definitely can feel that like kind of stronger alcohol in there.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of the remember the Noda Brewing's Cheerwine ale?
Oh yeah.
Really good. It wouldn't be for everybody, especially if you don't like cheerwine.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like cherries, you probably won't like this. But if you like cherries in any capacity whatsoever, this is like a nice dark cherry flavor.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like the good flavors of the buckwheat cherry mead that I made that one time. Like those were good. The like sediment that just never fell out of it was really bad, right? It wasn't a bad mead necessarily. It tasted a little bit off because of the sediment. This is kind of the same thing. Like it is that same sort of like good parts flavor.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. It's fine. Doesn't have any sediment in it. But this is really tasty. I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's definitely a good one.
I'm sad I only got one.
You got it from Wegmans, right?
I'll go back and get more, but I'm sad.
Deliver them to your house.
Okay, yes, but no, I like to go there and pick them up on my own. I'll go back and get more. This is going to be one of those that I'm like, all right, this is the beer that I'm going to keep in stock. Well, that one, and there's another one that's coming up. Not this time, but probably the next time that we do a batch of recordings. Yeah. There's that apple crumble ale that I showed you today. Man. We'll have a good time with that one because this one's not as complex though. It's basically two notes. It's like malty and cherry are like there.
Yeah.
Or fruit. Stone fruit would be a better way to describe it.
It's a dark stone fruit. It's hard to pick out exactly cherry if you don't know it's cherry.
Right. Well, I don't know. I now that I know and I've read the thing, I can't say, but the cherry has a unique, like, sweet flavor to it that, like, kind of comes off the end. Like, if you think about, like, a cherry lifesaver or anything like that, the reason it tastes like cherry is that little, it's almost like a curve up of, like, tart and then sweet that kind of comes that you just don't really get from anything else. And I can taste that in this. So, like, I think I would know it's cherry. But, like, the evolution of it is, like, dark stone fruit. Oh, definitely a cherry, right?
Yeah.
Like, and like a dark cherry, not like a bright like maraschino.
I think that's what gets you with it though, is because you really do have to. It almost reminds me of like the dark cherries you can buy frozen,
Yeah.
because the ones you get at the store come like a little bit not quite as ripe,
Right.
right? So those are a little bit brighter, whereas this is that true kind of like, this was frozen at peak ripeness. It would not have survived a transport. Like, it's a very specific fruit.
Yeah, or if you like keep your dark cherries around for like a 5 days or something like that, like the flavor you get off of them that changes over that time period. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, exactly. I highly recommend it if you can get one. I got it at Wegmans, or if you've got like some of this around, they might be at like Total Wine or something. I don't think it's like a rare brew, but if you can get it, you should get it if you like that sort of thing. Hands down, sounds like a great idea. So let's talk about Australia. So there's this bank in Australia that had laid off all of its support staff. I think we had talked about like that, with another company that had laid off a bunch of its support staff. But according to Australia law, or no, not according to laws in Australia, they had done like a bunch of like messed up stuff. They like screwed up everything, and now they're having to hire all their support staff back. And the reason they're having to hire them back is because the AI that they replaced them with wasn't actually doing the right job.
Yeah.
It was letting people get away with things that they shouldn't have gotten away with, and also, not doing the things it was supposed to support people. That's it in a nutshell. We talked about AI last episode and the dead internet theory, but it's kind of pervasive. Like, we could say the dead support theory, or we could say the dead this, or we could say the dead that, because all these things, they're not being killed by it, but when you have something that interacts where you're not interacting with another person, that causes that to, the word is enshittification, but it causes the enshittification of that like kind of like area. I could not imagine if I had a problem where someone had like somehow gotten my banking information. They stole money from me, and then I called up and an AI responded to me, and I was like, well, what are you going to do? Like, stop money transfers from my account. Like, I've got like $100,000 in there and they've taken 50, like, stop it, and they're like, oh no, we see that this is a legitimate transfer or some like crap like that. Right. Like, so I don't know. This is a springboard off for us to talk about, as AI pervades more things. Is this really going to make our lives better? It seems like companies are just using it to increase profit.
They're trying to, yeah. I mean, I think we've got a long list of examples of people trying to implement it as a replacement for people in human interactive roles that it's really not worked out very well for.
Yeah.
What should have happened in the grand scheme of evolution of AI is that it should have replaced what you would generally have had bots for. So your saving as the company is now you kind of have one generalized chatbot that can do several things not great, instead of 5 individual, like, solid program chatbots that can do things not great. Right. It's the consolidation, and basically the bulk economy of it makes it a little bit more worthwhile for you potentially, and that it will receive updates and that it can continue to be trained. It is easier to get new information into an AI than it is to get new information into a like manually programmed chatbot. No, I don't think anyone will argue that an AI chatbot is more flexible. You can certainly start arguing efficient, but you can't say flexibility. Large language models got you beat there. Problem is now you're trying to replace people doing things, and there's something I think that can be said, like even in like an IT support environment, that bot that's programmed to pretty much just hand out FAQs could be a chatbot that can hand out FAQs, and it probably is better at interpreting what the user is saying than the standard chatbot.
Right.
But now you're replacing your support staff with it. Not great.
No.
I've seen HR companies are starting to replace entry-level interviewing with it.
Oh yeah.
I watched a wonderful clip of somebody who was so frustrated because he was getting like a panel interview by AI, and partway through the interview, the AI started interviewing each other.
Yeah.
And so like they were responding to each other's questions and stuff like that. And it's like, why can't we just do an interview?
Yeah.
Why do we need this problem? Why do we need, or like all those wonderful videos of people that are doing the fast food kiosks, which I think we have as a topic later. But have you seen the?
Oh yeah. Well, not that. That's a drive-through, but yeah, it's related.
Yeah, yeah. But have you seen the one? I forget which fast food it was, where the guy's like, "I would like 18,000 waters."
That's this.
And
That's exactly. That's
yeah.
the AI for Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you gotta draw a line somewhere where, when are we sacrificing operational efficiency for operations being cheaper? And it's like, that's not a new problem. That
Right.
problem's existed forever. That's classically been a staffing and training issue of how many people do we really need. But the problem is, like, I think AI lends itself to people getting in situations that it's really hard to get out of.
Yeah.
When you are trying to figure out how to staff your support center or your labor force, and you mess up because you thought you could reduce it by 10%, and that was too much, and now call times are too long, you sit down and you say, okay, mistake. Let's hire, the equivalent of what it would have been 2%. So we only laid off 8% instead of 10%. Is that better? You run your metrics and you determine how many you need. But when you lay off your whole support sector, now you got to build a whole support system again.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of, now you've lost senior talent. When you go through and you clip off your, 10% worst performers, that still sucks. 10% of your employees lost their job. That's not good for people. But it's way easier to recover from, because your best 90% still there to train the new 2% you call in and everything like that. But once you just bomb an office, and now you got to hire 60 people that need to do support, and maybe there's no staff doing the job previously, you've got documentation from the people you fired. That's a hard sell. That's expensive to do. It takes a while to train up. Those people that got hired are not going to feel super secure in their job because you replaced everybody with AI once before. What's to stop you from doing it again in 2 years when AI is maybe a little bit better? For companies that love to talk about diversification of their market, they put a lot of eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Well,
and I mean, financial institutions, anything like that, there's a lot of jobs that you don't necessarily need people to do. But you probably want people overseeing, like in
definitely.
some way,
Yeah.
shape, form, or fashion. So the chat bot that gives out FAQs, like, hey, I need this, type in random thing, it hits a keyword search, it returns this thing.
Yeah.
You enhance it with an LLM. That's perfect. That's great. That saves your click to chat people or your on call support or your this or that time, right? Because that is something that they already were having to answer something at a rate of this amount per minute, and now they're not. Now you can relax that and say, okay, our standards are this. We don't need to fire you. We just need to make sure that you're still able to do the thing that you're doing, but you're focusing on, and we'll give you like 2 more minutes or something like that to be able to solve these problems that hopefully will keep them from going to a higher level of support. Those are like good uses of AI. When you're talking about, like, as you said, getting rid of a whole support sector, then you've got some moral and ethical problems there that you're going to have to like solve on top of some other things. And what I mean by that is, let's just suppose that it's completely morally correct for you to fire all of your people, but you have customers that are paying you to do something at a certain level. And if you're not able to provide that level of support, ethically, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's tons of moral implications on your employees when you introduce AI. And, I think we're seeing, even if you ignore all of those, very few businesses, I think, are truly benefiting from AI at the level they thought they would.
Right.
Especially if they're not a technology company. Like the places like Microsoft and Google and stuff like that, they're eating along with their own dog food. You know, there's maybe some argument to be had, but you can generally say, hey, those transitions for them are going decently. You know, we're not hearing about how Google, data centers are crashing left and right.
Right.
Because they introduced some bot that doesn't know how to maintain, so they're doing their maintenance wrong, or stuff like that. There's big business applications that are successful, but when you kind of come along as a smaller business, a medium business, and you're being sold a service, there's a lot of ignorance in that selling, and there's a lot of overselling of what stuff can do, and a lot of misunderstanding how your business works at a low level, which really, I think, gets a lot of companies. Because, I think everybody in America, unless you're a CEO and have always been a CEO, has felt I don't think the higher ups at my company know what I actually do for my job.
Right. They don't understand what I do. They say this is the new goal, but they're not thinking about these 5 things, or whatever.
Yeah, and that's very common. In all honesty, it's kind of supposed to exist that way. The whole reason there's multiple levels to an org is that once you're high enough up in the org, you're supposed to just be focusing on the business, and you've got other people that are taking care of the support. Like that disconnect is natural. It's never going away. It's just how any large group of people has to work. Same thing could be said of any government, or like even if you've got a decently large fan club.
Right.
if you're trying to organize all over the United States some meetup, and it's going to be like, okay, here are the planners, and there's maybe representatives for every state that have representatives for every major city, and that stuff happens. It's just the way organization of people and ideas work. But that also leads to, when there's a lot of hype around, oh, here's this great new thing we're going to implement, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be wonderful, we're going to do it. AI really is being looked at as an augmentation or replacement to staff in a way previous technologies weren't. Everybody who's been in a company for a decently long time will have some story of some new thing that got rolled out that ultimately didn't work very well. Oh, our job got a new ticketing system, or oh, our job, we moved to a different knowledge management platform, or we moved to different operating systems, or whatever. And those can have negative impacts because maybe that new ticketing system looked amazing, but then once you really get in and you're working in it, maybe it's too different, or maybe it does have some problems you didn't know about, or maybe it's great for incidences, but it does service requests really bad.
Yeah.
We didn't think about service requests too much when it got put in because it's a smaller part of what we do. Yada, yada, yada. Those things happen. But with a lot of AI implementation for these companies, it comes with and we're going to run this for 3 months while we've got staff, and then after those 3 months, when we feel it's ready, we're going to get rid of some staff.
Right.
And, that I've not heard too many stories of that going well.
I don't know of one. I mean, it's like putting an infant in charge of your toddlers almost. You're not putting something that's smarter in charge of like maintaining these things. And I mean, I was talking about morality and ethics a few minutes ago, and I was trying to like step away from like because it gets more complicated when you're talking about what's morally right for a company to do versus what's like legally right and profitable for a company to do, and sometimes they're not the same thing and stuff like that. And we've talked about that a lot, and I think rarely does a company think about the morals of something. There are a few out there that do, but for the most part, they don't think about what's right for the employees. They think about what's right for the shareholders. Oftentimes, those aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said for, as like a CEO, CTO, things like that, that you have to think about what's right for your backers. And sometimes that means also making sacrifices of like your employees or your staff or things like that. But AI ultimately, or so far, has led to a point to where we don't know what the full implications are of it. And it's evidenced by the things that it does over and over and over again. And in the past 5 years, since we've started this journey of as a global society taking on AI, you're just you don't have these like cut and dry lines anymore. But when it comes to like you're servicing a group of people, like you're a bank or a food reseller or something like that, you do have a legal and moral like thing that you have to do for your customers. That's like cut and dry. That is absolutely cut and dry. And the fact that they're like, well, we're going to make your support experience worse. We've already gone through this with companies like Google and stuff like that. It is infamous how you can't get any support from Google if you have a problem. Now, if you pay for one of their plans, that's an issue. If you are just a person that uses their stuff and you're their product, that's a little bit more gray, right? Maybe. I still think that they owe you something because they're taking from you more than they're giving you. But ultimately, this problem that we're talking about here is that companies are now looking at their customers as a way to save money, not just their employees. And I mean, my opinion personally is if you're going to take something that's going to cut out your employees, you're probably thinking the wrong way. Like if you're seeing this as a cost savings reduction, you're thinking short term, and your company's probably not going to be here in 2-3 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the cycle of a lot of companies is you get people coming in that are aggressively, quote unquote, optimizing and making everything cheaper until it's gone too far and the business struggles. And then you get somebody in to rebuild the business back up. And then now the business runs really well. They're like, okay, but now the improvement is how do I make it cheaper?
Right.
And it just continues that cycle again.
Yeah, it's good to be an employee when it's on the upswing, but it's bad to be an employee when it's on the downswing. It's good to be a customer when it's on the upswing. It's bad to be a customer when it's on the downswing.
Yeah, because and again, I think what really AI does is it provides a neat package to make a lot of change really quickly that I think a lot of companies just aren't prepared for.
No, they're not, and they've got these hot shots or people that are coming in that are saying like, hey, I've got the answer. We'll use AI.
Yeah, well, they're being sold by other companies. You know, I'm sure that when they sit down, there's a company that's selling them, hey, we're going to train AI on exactly what this thing you're trying to replace does. It'll be wonderful. And, you know, they're probably even upfront that, hey, it's not always 100% as accurate as a person, but because it's so much cheaper and because you can always just immediately do a second request and like, or we'll put in, you know, hallucination support so that it already we back up to a second request anyway. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of ways to sell it that make it look really good. That's the problem is the unpredictability of then interacting with people. You know, which is again why a lot of like form specific, like computer to communication that's done through AI does generally work very well.
Right.
You know, just like imaging stuff works very well. You know, that's why it's got a lot of medical applications that go great. But man, once you're talking to a person that's just able to hear like, oh, that's an AI I'm talking to, or oh, this is an AI I'm chatting to, and they can just do whatever they want to it, you know, that's gonna have problems.
Yeah.
Because the person is never really gonna get tricked. You call a guy on the phone 15 times and try and get some weird thing going on. They're going to say no every single time.
Right.
And then they're going to ban you from the call center. And they're going to be like, well, we're going to block that number because this guy's doing something.
If they catch you. I mean, sometimes like phishing and
well, yeah. I mean, it's not perfect. But, you know, a lot of times that's a lot more nuanced than what you see people who end up getting past AI are doing.
Yeah.
You know, what they're learning is how to prompt hack. That are just issues with the models and that are well known. You know, it's like almost like having known vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. It's like introducing a level of vulnerability into your speech.
Exactly. Exactly. And like people will get around it. People have to play with it. I'm sure that, you know, ordering kiosks, there's people who show up every day just like, what can I get it to do?
Yeah.
How can I mess it up? I don't like this.
How can I get this for free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if I go and order a burger and I have it take off every individual thing, does it end up being cheaper than, you know, can I get a penny because there's some problem with it? And then can I order 20,000 of them?
Yeah.
Because the computer will let me order 20,000 of them, and now I made $2,000 or, you know, or $200. You know, it's like, how do you? There's people out there doing that stuff. You see it every day, and so you really gotta. I don't know. You can't trust people either. That's kind of the thing of it. Like, your customers are your customer's gonna be a bad actor. They're gonna they're gonna be like that guy who's like, hey, I managed to get this thing to agree to sell me a car for $1.
Yep.
You know,
you got to sell me a car for $1. Sorry, you got to honor it. Yeah.
This was a verbal contract.
Yep.
You know,
and you trusted your AI to be like your representative. You said that, and you made me sign a thing that says that. Like, I'm willing to deal with the AI. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of that, let's talk about something that's a little bit more funny.
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
AI drive-through attendant. I mean, I think they've admitted that this is a mistake by this point. But it came out with some hilarious results. The one you referenced earlier, like the guy driving up and like, can I get 18,000 waters? And then the AI just like kind of spins for a minute and says yes, and then someone immediately comes on and is like, no.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'll give Taco Bell this. I do at least like, you know, if we compare it to McDonald's. McDonald's is in a lot of places all just an order kiosk now.
Yeah.
You can't place like a regular order. And so they haven't staffed front desk. And so now there's just more stressed people in the back working a smaller workforce. Whereas like those people that work the cash register who was slow could go do other things and help the rest of the staff, you know. At least for Taco Bell, the person is still there. They're using it as a tool to make it faster. That's why there was someone to pop online.
Right.
Because there is somebody watching orders come in. And I'm sure they still reduce staff because they don't need as many people if there's someone just watching orders come in as opposed to, you know, needing to take the orders themselves. But still, it's always so hilarious to see those. And I love it. It's like 18,000 waters. Like, sure. Or the poor guy. Have you seen the one about the dude trying to just finish his order?
No, I haven't seen that.
I don't know if it was Taco Bell or if it was some other place. But the guy just wants to finish his order. And he's like, what would you like to drink? It's like, I'll have a medium Coke. Okay. What about a drink today? And it just kept over and over asking about a drink. And if he said no, it would say, okay, but then ask him about a drink. It's like, you want another drink? No. He eventually said, and it's like, cool. And would you like a drink with that? And it's, you know, it's only like a 10-second clip, so you don't know how long it goes. But you can tell the dude is so frustrated. Because even just in that clip, it asked him like 3 times for a drink.
I mean, but that's the problem with these things. I mean, this is the enshittification for your customers, right? I think the thing that makes me chuckle the most about the Taco Bell thing is that, you know, they for a long time there have been these things where you have to like go and order, you know, for at least like 2 years, you have to like order through kiosks and stuff like that, and Taco Bell does it too, and that's not necessarily a bad experience. Like, I don't hate that in every way, shape, form, or fashion. But the problem is when you go up to the counter to get your stuff and something's wrong. Yeah. Like you didn't get a hot sauce that you ordered, or you didn't get the drink size that you ordered, or you're out of lids, or you're out of whatever condiment or something like that, right? And you're waiting, and the people are just ignoring you because you're supposed to interact through the kiosk, and you're just like, hey, excuse me. I mean, this happens at, you know, McDonald's, Taco Bell. I don't really go out to eat fast food very much, so I don't know anything else. I think I've been maybe like 5 times in the last like 2 years, you know. And it seems like people want to go to these places because they need something really quick. Yeah. But the lack of service and the increase in prices really make it like so that, I mean, unless I need something really fast, why wouldn't I go to the food truck over here that's got like great tacos and I can actually talk to the, you know, people at the line? Yeah. I
mean, there's definitely something to be said that fast food is no longer as fast as it used to be. It's nowhere near as cheap as it used to be. I mean, even delivery, there hit a point, and I wish they would keep delivery on all the time. You know, I don't eat that much either, but it became the McDonald's burger was not as cheap as the local like mom and pop shop burger. And so then it was like, well, if I'm going to get it delivered anyway, I can literally go get like one of the best burgers I'm going to be able to eat, because it's like a nice mom and pop burger that like, we're like Southern burger culture where you can get like coleslaw and chili on it and stuff like that. It's delicious. It's more food for less money. Whereas, you know, this is a McDonald's burger.
Yeah, if you're going to pay $60 to get McDonald's, and you could pay $60 to get, you know, the Shake Shack that's down the road or something like that, and that's like, you know, not a corporate Shake Shack. That's like the mom and pop Shake Shack. You know what I'm talking about. You're going to be better off with that Shake Shack every time, even if it's like some sort of pop up place that's doing it like in a warehouse. That's still going to be a better meal.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, or like you're like, I can get the Tandoori Kitchen, you know, down the road. That's like this nice little couple that's been making tandoori food for, and I can get that for the same price as McDonald's. Why am I going to McDonald's? It takes me 10 extra minutes to get this, but I'm still getting it for delivery. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think a lot of fast food places are really struggling with like figuring out their pricing, because, you know, I think COVID really taught a lot of places that people were willing to pay delivery level prices. So they've raised their prices to match delivery prices, even if it's in store. And like, you can kind of do that if you're a really good restaurant.
Right.
You know, if the cost of my half tandoori chicken went up $2, that's not, I mean, I don't love that, but it's a lot of really good food. Went from like $16 to $18. And, you know, but I'm not going to get a tandoori chicken anywhere else.
Right.
But when you're generic burger place, and like, you know, you're the Walmart or the Wendy's or the whatever, and just like one combo for one person is $15-16. Like, that's, you know, let me pay the extra $2. Let me get half a chicken.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, or if it's both of them are the same price, because that's kind of what it is now. If you're going to eat any of these things, you're putting that effort in. Like, I went to this place yesterday for lunch called Sean Shakes, or Sean's Shakes. I think that's what it is. It's a place in Raleigh. It's like a mom and pop place.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a corporate place and I've just never seen one before. But I got out of there for $30 with tip.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I looked at like everything and I was like, I got a full meal. It wasn't like the 100% best food, but it was like, you know, something that was good. And I got to interact with people. I had someone serve me the whole time. Like, I didn't have to like go get my own food. They even, like, it would have been cheaper, but they upsold me a bottle, like a homemade bottle of strawberry lemonade.
Ooh, okay.
And it's good stuff too. And you know, brought that back home. It was good. Had a great time. $30. And they had constant people coming in and out of there. Good fast food. It wasn't fast food. It was just the food came out fast. Like, they cooked it quickly. And I was thinking about that like when I left, and I was like, that's like the sweet spot. And I've already eaten there twice. I probably will start, when I go to that area, eat there more often.
Yeah. Because
they know how to price their stuff right for this quality of service they're giving. And they seem to be profitable from it, right? I don't get the whole like expense, you know, like range that these corporate entities are doing, and it kind of puts me off from it. That's a little bit slightly different from us talking about the AI drive-through thing, but it is like in the same realm of, we're trying to squeeze as much profit out of things as we can through this. And that's essentially what it is. If we as a corporation are able to get rid of our, you know, attendants at the drive-through, then our fees that we can collect more fees for our, what do they call it when somebody buys a restaurant It's not a branch. That's what I'm wanting to call
Franchise.
it. Franchise. Yes, we can squeeze more money out of our franchise or whatever it is that they're thinking they can do. And that kind of sucks. But it is funny to listen to it. It also makes me want to go, like, if I drive up to Taco Bell and it's an AI that's talking to me, I'm just going to drive off. Probably. Yeah. I don't really want to go. And I think eventually that's going to be the downfall of these things. People are going to get frustrated and they're not going to want to interact with it.
There's definitely going to be said of, AI is not really viewed positively in a service context.
Yeah.
And you got to think about, who am I losing because I've done this? Like, I really don't go to McDonald's anymore after the kiosks. I don't like the kiosks. It's not a terrible system, but like, it's way more work on me to order off of a kiosk, because there's like clicking on a bajillion things, and the kid meals are always hard to find. Where have we put the Happy Meals? Yada yada. Okay, now pick your toy, and it's like, okay, well, there's 4 different ones to pick from, and when you're ordering in person, it's really easy, because they're just like, do you want like a toy for bigger kids or little kids?
Yeah, and they'll just throw one in.
And and they know, because they know which ones are the big kids and little kids toys. So I could be like, okay, now there's clearly the one called toddler toy, and that's generally like some crayons or something. So not that. But now I've got 2 other options. And which one of these is going to be an actual toy, and which one of these is going to be
a decoder ring that falls apart in 2 seconds?
Yeah, like, because some of them are just so crappy for like little kids, like little 2 pieces of plastic that snap together, and it's like, look, it's a thing that'll hold a ball, so you can like roll a ball into it, and it's like, first world problems, but like so many like barriers, and exactly as you said, like something's sold out, or something can't be done, or there's gonna be a wait on something. Takes no time at all to order from a person, because they know what's going on. Whereas that kiosk takes me 2 to 3 times as long. So I just don't do it. I just go to a place that doesn't have a kiosk.
I do too. Like the 2 or 3 times that I've had to go to a place that has a kiosk, I'm like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And well, okay, not always. There are some times that I'm like, okay, I'll come back here. It had a kiosk, but someone was standing at the cash register and I could talk to them. I don't
That's
mind
a decent system.
that so much.
Use the kiosk if you want to use the kiosk. Go talk to the person if you want to talk to the person.
Right, you can order from the cash register or use a kiosk. And, I know exactly what I want, so I'm going to go to the kiosk, like tap it in, and then I get it from the cash register. Cool. Don't mind that. I don't really want to touch when I'm about to go eat the disease place.
That's a good point. Let me touch on this screen everyone else has been touching on. I gotta go wash my hands real quick before I eat.
Go get the gonosyphil herpylades off of me before I eat my food. Let's talk about something more enlightening though. Literal light, as in hollow core fiber. All right. Both of us have a background in network engineering, so this is like kind of nerd-tastic like kind of stuff for us. If you are not interested in network engineering, you might want to just stand right here. If you're interested in hearing us talk about it, we're going to talk about fiber optic cables. And for those that know or don't know, there's 2 types of like infrastructure that you can use for 3 essentially, but if you're talking about getting a computer network to be able to talk to another computer network, or a computer to talk to another computer, you can use copper cables, which are twisted pair cables that are inside of a sheath that are then twisted around themselves, and those, depending on how the twists go and things like that, provide a level of speed, or what we think of as speed is really throughput in how much data can be moved from one computer to another. There's also fiber optics, which uses light. The difference between, and then the third one is being able to use some sort of point-to-point wireless setup. Wireless is prone to interference. Copper and fiber, not so much. Copper is more prone to interference than fiber. And copper also has resistance that fiber doesn't have. So the fiber optic cable has been using the same solid core fiber technology for 30, 40 years. Yeah, it's like been since like 1970 something. I think the 80s is when it got ratified though. And So basically, it had a solid core fiber with like a strand on the outside that was hollow core, um, that allowed light to be shot and refracted off, and based off of the length and how much it could take that light and keep the light going was determined how much throughput you could get from that solid core of fiber optic cabling. And then the outside like kind of did like this diffusion thing where it would like kind of refract the stuff back inside. It's more complex than that. I'm not a data center or a person who works in like some sort of teleco or something like that. So like somebody out there that may be listening to this that works in those contexts may say, but I'm just dumbing it down a little bit. So I understand there's more to it than that. But now there's like this guy who's like really been into the research of like, let's advance fiber optics so that we can break the 100 gig barrier without having to bond things together. I think it's 100 gig. And wants to go into like terabits of data transfer per second. So for anybody that doesn't know, at home, most people have something called gigabit Ethernet. And that means that you can take a gigabit of data, which is 1/8 of a gigabyte of data. Gigabytes are generally what we think of when we're thinking about storage. It takes that gigabit of data and is able to move it from one location to another per second. So you're talking about, 8 gigabits, or 10 gigabits or something like that, being able to like move from one location to another. You can like get like these really fast speeds of transferring like, big files between things. People talk about being able to like put a NAS up and using these fiber cores or copper cores to be able to edit on the NAS the data, because those can store like these huge amounts of data versus like having it on like a local machine with like smaller amounts of data where they've got better processing power. Well, with something like this, I mean, you could possibly like have something in like a cloud native location where you're like talking about like maybe in like AWS or something. You've got a terabit of throughput between those two locations. It's like it's native to you. It's, I mean, maybe even faster than native. This would like make cloud gaming possible too, depending on the latency that like is built with it. Holy crap. Like,
yeah. I think a lot of the claims of application are a little foggy because this is the ideal world of a complete 100% adoption, which will never happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
ISPs will never, they're never going to give you better service than they have to keep you as a customer. But to me, when we start talking about improvements on a technology, even single digit percents can be game changers.
Right.
Like if this was a proposed 10% increase in performance, that would be enough for people to talk about it. That's enough for like data centers to be like, new data centers will be built with it. It'll be a selling point of your cloud infrastructure that you have it because it is 10% better and with everything like that. But they're estimating this is, I think it was 47% increase. Right. It's a massive increase in the performance for what is probably not that much more difficult of a construction process. So it unfortunately it's not some of these technologies where like infrastructure in place can be utilized.
Yeah.
You will have to replace cables and things like that. But, 47% increase for a cable that's probably not going to be that much more expensive, and for what wouldn't require different developments in how you lay it out. Like it's not like we're losing, like it's not
significantly thicker. It's going to fit within the same channels.
Yeah, and there's not special concerns for bins and stuff like that. So like that's the big thing moving from copper to fiber optics is fiber optics is more sensitive than copper is. So you have to have a little bit of a betterly controlled environment to run it. You can't do as many really sharp turns.
Yeah, when you're talking about the environment, you mean the physical environment. That's the advantage of copper is you can run it in almost any place. It just is prone to more interference
exactly
from things that are nearby, where fiber optics, the physical environment is a constraint because you can't have sharp bends or anything like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So like the upgrade from copper to solid core fiber was a big investment for a lot of people because it was building new infrastructure, modifying existing infrastructure, things like that. That's not going to be what this is. If you've already got fiber today, you can just take that fiber cable out and replace it with this fiber cable, and you'll get a 47% increase in performance, proposed.
Yeah.
That big. That's huge. That's enough to make some people just flat out want to upgrade for the performance. And then it becomes an absolute no-brainer that when you need to fleet your existing cables and stuff like that, when it comes time to replace, you would obviously replace to something that's marginally more expensive for a massive boost in performance.
Also, I mean, it eliminates some of those like constraints too with like the bends and things like that. It is going to be more flexible because it's hollow core. It's going to have like better resistance to shattering because of like certain things. So you should be able to conform this to the like angles that you need it to fit into your structure cabling and stuff like that.
If you were able to get regular fiber to work, there's no question you'll be able to get hollow core fiber to work.
Right.
Which is the big thing.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is like in some new instances where you're like say building a new data center or something, and you have something where you're like, well, we're going to use fiber up to this point, but because of this sharp angle, we're going to use copper here.
Yeah, you're right.
You might be able to use the new fiber according to like what I read about it.
Yeah, there's definitely use cases like that as well, and I think that's going to be the thing. So the real question now is, does real world performance interact the same way that lab performance does?
Right.
And what's it truly going to cost? Because if both of those come out really well, I mean, yeah, this kind of could very quickly, if they can produce it fast enough, kind of start to become de facto installations.
Yeah, I mean, I would wire my house with it tomorrow if it came out. I'd be an early adopter. I would love to try it. That's just one of those things that like stuff about this, like new battery technology and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That'd be like great, but we don't talk about them very much.
Yeah.
But when we get a new like wiring standard for fiber optic, oh my goodness, oh my heart. It just like it is something like really special, right? And I mean, I've been wanting to put in some 10 gig runs. And I've got some Cat 6 in locations that I've had run in my house. This would have solved that problem so much easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I didn't think about doing fiber optics in those things because you'd have to have special tools to do that. I could have just, run one, and if this stuff comes out in like a strand that you can get it in like, say, 100 foot or something like that.
Yeah.
I may go in and replace some of my 10 gig runs with that, just because it would be, better.
Oh, yeah.
And less interference, and I don't have to worry about running it beside power or something like that. I mean, I can already get 10 gig. We're talking about like doing hundreds of gigs. Computers can't even run that fast. You have to have special data center grade cards and stuff like that. I'm not running that in my house.
Yeah.
But I would do it just because I could say I've got this special hollow core fiber in my house and it's so cool. And my understanding is it fits with all the like existing technologies too. So like this is just like a drop-in replacement for your existing fiber optic cable runs. And I mean there's also things like DisplayPort over fiber and USB over fiber and stuff like that. And with the increased bandwidth that would provide, that like gives you the ability to do like Thunderbolt over fiber and stuff. It's like this would be so sick.
Yeah.
I'm like I just kind of it's like midlife crisis Joe. Like I'm not buying a Ferrari. I'm rewiring my house with all core fiber.
We got all the fiber optics in here.
I'm the bald guy who brags about his fiber optic cable runs.
Got all the little fiber optic toys in the house. Let me explain to you how this works.
But this has been season 8, episode 12 of the Beer and Broadband Pod. Oh, wait. Before we go down that road, we both let our beer warm up.
Oh, I finished mine.
Yeah, but did you
Yeah.
you let it sit for a
Oh
while?
yeah,
to warm up?
it was good. I wouldn't say I was drinking it while we were in the middle of talking, so I didn't pull a bunch of tasting notes. But it certainly wasn't bad warm. It was not any noticeably less good.
I actually felt like the flavor, the malty flavor, and the cherry flavor melded better because they were very like single notes. Like it was like malt cherry.
Yeah.
And then they melded a little bit better. So if you prefer that, drinking it like say at 45, 50 degrees versus 42, 40 degrees might be your way to go.
Yeah.
Or 50, 55. So. Well, anyways, this has been Season 8, Episode 12, the Beer and Broadband Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It's coming out on 9/15/2025, and we'll catch you later.